Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and guests, to this meeting of online presenters. It has begun. Guests, or our guests, please note that in order to be a member of our club, you must be a current or former active member of Toastmasters International and have completed at least 6 Toastmasters official speeches, or alternately, if you have subsequential relevant presentation experience, you may apply for membership after demonstrating your ability in a 2 to 3 minute speech delivered during one of our club meetings. Now, our requests for memberships are subject to approval by the members of our club. If you've not already done so, please change your panel name to ensure it shows your name and role/roles. Right-click and select rename to do so. We have members and guests from many countries throughout the world. Thus, as a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note that we will be recording this meeting and your video and audio contribution may be used for club marketing purpose. Also, remember to remain ONMUTE, not UNMUTE, during the course of our meeting as respect for our guests. Today, in the country that has 8 of the world's most venomous spiders, and he gets to correct me on this one, and 6 of the world's most venomous snakes, but he's still here, still brave, and not in autumn, but in spring. Please help me welcome our president, distinguished Toastmaster Graham.
Thank you, Johnny. Spring is sprung, the grass is riz. I wonder where the deadly animals is. There, where I live, here in Australia. Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Cairns, and I am the president of this club. I'd like to welcome you here today. I'd like to welcome our guests, particularly Lirong and Suren, who I notice has just arrived as well, but also our members. It'd be nice if we had more members here today, but I understand that there is lots happening. We've got a few people who are in the air flying places, others who are down with the dread lurgy. The dread lurgy, by the way, is something that may not be a familiar term for those of you from outside England or, well, outside Britain or Australia. A lurgy is an illness, an undefined illness. So when somebody has, you know, they're just not well, they've got the dread lurgy. So anyway, I know that there are a few people who are off sick, which is a pity, but that's all right. We will have a fun and exciting meeting. We have, I notice, 2 prepared presentations coming up today. We also have table topics, which is, of course, the chance where we get to speak extemporaneously. And there will be evaluations, because evaluations are the keynote of or the keystone of a Toastmasters meeting. There is no point in us sitting here just flapping our gums unless we get feedback and told what we're doing wrong, but also what we're doing right and we should continue to do. How do I spell that? T-H-A-T, that's right. No, lurgy, L-U-G-R-Y. It's actually a line from The Goons was a British comedy radio show from the 1950s, and there was one of them had the dread lurgy, and that just became part of our language. Anyway, leaving all of that aside, it's time now to move to our Toastmaster for the day, the man who is going to keep us on track and make sure that we do what we are supposed to do, and that is our Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster of the evening, Toastmaster of the morning, wherever you are. Here he is, Toro Morigama. Toastmaster Toro.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Thank you for your kind introduction, President Graham Kent. I will be the TMOD of the meeting today. We enter the autumn, leaving the heated summer behind, and I believe people must be feeling cool. But I made a mistake, but this is confined to the Northern Hemisphere. So some of the people living in the Australia or South America is not in autumn, but spring. And some of the people living in the area don't seem to have autumn. So I'm sorry, but in calendar, last Saturday, September 23rd was the first day of autumn, which is called the autumnal equinox, the day in which the amount of daylight and nighttime hours are equal. So I set the my meeting's theme as the harvest, because autumn is the season of harvest. So so that the this meeting will be fruitful and we will be bring something valuable back home. So the word of the day is spectacular, as you see in the screen. It is, please use the adjective. The word means very impressive or sensational, eye-catching. The meeting consists of 3 parts. The first, prepared speech session, including the tip of the day, which there is no speaker, so we'll skip this. And the second, table topic session, which is the round of impromptu speech session. The Toastmaster Caroline Ramirez is in charge. And third is evaluation session, dedicated to the evaluation for the prepared speeches and the quality of the entire meeting. So let's focus to make this meeting spectacular. And before we move into the prepared session, I'd like to have each role taker introduce your role, beginning from the timer. Would you explain what is your job, please?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. My job as timekeeper is to keep the meeting on time. We observe time structures here, not because we are particularly fixated on it, but because if we're going to get the meeting done on time and not steal time from other people, we have to follow some niceties. So in my case, for example, I will be showing the times as following, using the virtual background behind me. When you have reached the minimum suggested time for your event, you will see that my background goes green. When you are at the midpoint, which is when you should be wrapping up, you see the yellow. And if you see the red, it means that you have reached the end of your time and you really should shut up. So in the case of a 5 to 7 minute speech, it will be a green at 5, a yellow at 6, and a red at 7. In the case of a table topic, it will be a green at 1, a yellow at 1.5, and a red at 2. In the case of an evaluation, it'll be green at 2, yellow at 2.5, and red at 3. Please note, the red is a sign that you have run out of time, not that you should begin thinking about wrapping up sometime soon, because it means that you're actually out of time and you are starting to steal other people's time, on the subject of which I am doing that. I'll shut up now.
Thank you very much for your detailed explanation. He is going to be the evaluator of the first speaker, so he will play the dual role. Thank you. And let's listen from the our counter explanation. Who is our counter? Thank you.
I am our counter, Mr. Toastmaster of the day. My name is Andrei. I'm Ukrainian, living in Manchester, UK. And as a Ukrainian, English is not my first language, not my mother tongue. However, I have naturally shifted ears for our, I just love carefully listening to other people using those scratch words, and especially when we use them in a very inappropriate way. I'm sure as an advanced Toastmaster Club, we will use them in appropriate way. But if not, I'm here to listen, and I report back at the end of the meeting. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you very much for your wonderful explanation. So next is watcher and chat monitor. Both roles are played by Toastmaster Miriam Grady. Would you explain your role, please?
Absolutely. As an online club, it's really important that we know how to present ourselves virtually. So I'll be watching your little squares, making sure that there's no distractions going by and that you're lit properly. and that you're centered in your square. It's really important to look professional. And as the chat monitor, what I will be doing is paying attention to the chat, just that. So I will note anything that's remarkable that happens in the chat at the end of the meeting. Back to you, Toru.
Thank you very much. All right, next is vote counter. Toastmaster Caroline Ramirez is going to be the one, please.
My role as a vote counter is to count the votes for your favorite prepared speaker, your favorite impromptu speaker, and your favorite evaluator. I will put a link in the chat and you will vote for your favorite. At the end of the meeting, I will give you my report. Back to you, Toru.
All right, thank you very much. Also, she's going to play the dual role also as a table topic master. Thank you for your contribution. Now we move on to the prepared speech session. We have two fine speakers. Our first speaker is Toastmaster Kastika Devi Venkataram. Her speech is based on the PATH Dynamic Leadership Level 3 project using presentation software. Time 5 to 7. Purpose of the speech is to demonstrate her understanding of how to use presentation software, including the creation of slides and incorporating the technology into a speech. And speech title is My Experience as a Managerial Persona. My Experience as a Managerial Persona. Toastmaster Kastika Devi Venkataram, please.
It's just killing my name. It's wonderful to be here. So let me straight away get into my speech. It's Monday night out. I have a Toastmasters presentation heading up beyond Tuesday. The clock is ticking. I just have 5 more hours for my speech. I already skipped my last meeting, concurrently busy working towards closing my open to work status. A week passed on, and I'm still jobless. There were countless heartbreaking shots adversing my thesis. Suddenly, something flashed on me. What's that? Why did I reflect my career journey? I immediately looked at my Toastmasters pathway schedule. I'm working on my dynamic leadership. Shouldn't I have to be much more dynamic in presenting myself? Shouldn't I have to stop my procrastination and start finding opportunities, promoting and embracing myself? Finally, I decided to show up to the Toastmasters. Let me create a reflection of my career journey. This was my thought process getting into myself. Thinking like a leader. Okay, just hold on. Thinking like a leader. I just stepped into the corporate world. As I stepped into this new world, I realized more than IQ, the intellectual quotient, your emotional intelligence, the EI is being tested. Though I'm not a genius, profoundly gifted with an IQ level of 160 plus as measured in IQ scale, I'm above average and moderately gifted, securing university rank 5 in my Masters of Engineering. My first couple of employments were developing digital signal processor-based product creation as a part of my job and purely performing technical sales involving core products and like having a customer service orientation. Philip Kotler, the marketing guru, was still an old wise person to me by that time. That was the level of connectivity that I had. Although this is one of my favorite quotes from him. A great leader is one who surrounds himself with great people who then collectively innovate and implement with success. If he tries to do it all by himself, he is an egoist and likely to fail. Okay. Jumping into like, what am I doing today? As I progressed, I learned knowing more about myself is going to be a sum of accomplishments that I can project. It's high time for me to think like a leader. Fine. I started collecting feedback from my professional network and from my professional association. I narrated my accomplishments and achievements, highlighting my top 3 skills. Passionate about creating innovative products, being virtuous, a childhood trait of me, showing trustworthiness, sincerity, and being honest, topped the 2nd place. The 3rd, being empathetic. Plotting all my strengths on a brag note and the growth curve eased me, tapping myself. Well done, Kritika. Now, what is the takeaway from me is like, conquering yourself is the first step to conquer the world. Now, I step into building a path to discover the hidden paths to pull out my strengths, projecting efficiently. I understood the pitch of my playground. This is to discover the path and navigate to my suitable right path. I practiced effective communication, gaining insights from data, and inculcating creativity in building products. All these things enabled me to play a fair game in a stable system where every day was an opportunity for me to implement new things and learn continuously. I was obsessed to move towards my vision. My learning, showering gratitude to your patrons, orchestrates perfect symphony of God. Showing the same gratitude to your enemies elevates your wisdom. I see the timer having raised up. Is that something to me? I was in the good books of my managers in the final corporate game, and one of my manager elevated to make myself visible. I started leading a team, coaching, sharing knowledge, to accept blame and giving credit. I practiced fairness, to see biased data, break the path in my decision-making process. I see a continuous progress and growth to be projected to myself as well as to my team. I also wanted to elevate and embrace the team for their success. I learned learning different skills enabled me to become hyper-focused and become much more efficient in my deliveries. The results? I practiced myself to be in the spectrum of light, radiating shades of color in the visible region. Now, it's time for me to act as a leader. Acting as a leader, persuading and leading, maintaining my integrity, and becoming compassionate, rebranding myself. Now, I reflect this towards you all from all of the experience that I get. I come from an ordinary family reflecting wiser qualities. And these are the wiser qualities that I learned over a period of time. My time is actually limited, so I cannot waste any more living someone's life. These are the 3 top traits that I got. Being customer-centric, being strategic toward aligning strategically, and prioritizing yourself. Thus, ending my speech with a note of my favorite speaker and entrepreneur, Steve Jobs. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone's life. Thank you. Over to you, Toastmaster of the Day Tour.
Thank you very much for your presentation for the comprehensive study and analysis of leadership. So next, we move on to the next speaker. Next speaker is Toastmaster Johnny Lenny Laidroll. Her speech is based on the motivational strategies, level 4, project, motivate others. Purpose is to practice the skills needed to motivate team members through the completion of a project. Time 5 to 7 minutes. The title of the speech, Divinely Dedicated. Let's get them trained. Divinely dedicated. Let's get them trained. Toastmaster Johnny Lenny Ledrow.
In Jamaica, we have a saying, I'm preaching to the choir. I think most of us, or that might actually be universal, we're part of an online club, which means by default, my experience is something that we probably all can empathize with, because as an online club, this is where we meet. But for me, a Jamaican who decided that I was going to be a district director, not only in another country, but in one all the way in America, it proved complicated. Now, my internet is called Flow, and sometimes Flow is just not flowing. So can you just imagine when the flow is turned off and you now have to communicate with everybody and figure everything out? I thought it was going to be a piece of cake. You see, when I was area director, it was so much easier. After all, you go, you sign up for your visits, you go do your visits, you get to know people, and voila, area director, done. But as a division director, I ended up having to now lead a team of persons who, like me, some weren't even actually physically in the location. Well, it helped being an area director first and having lived the experience, because I could give tips. This works for me. When it happened to me, I tried this, etc., etc. Now, what I love about the Toastmasters dashboard is it's spectacular at allowing you to see everything that happened in the past. Now, for me as an area director, when I was an area director, I made sure I found out about the past. There's a phrase that says, those of us who do not know our history are doomed to repeat it. So I make sure that while I sometimes have a tendency to get stuck there, I get to know what happened before I came along. That way, whenever cycles start to repeat themselves, I get the opportunity to go, okay, it was me that broke it. It was like that before. The beauty of knowing what happened before made my area director time a lot easier, but it made being division director even more easy. I thought it would be really difficult directing these people, because as an area director, it was difficult. I was in another country trying to figure out how to get people who are in a different location to actually do what most people have a hard time doing when right in front of your face. But I found that as a division director, because I knew the past, I had prepared and we had already laid groundwork. It made it really easy for me to suggest to my team, well, ladies, let's do some informal visits. That worked for me. I've realized that there are 2 Toastmasters meetings. And for anybody who has ever done a district role, you know, there is your everyday meeting that happens every day. And then there is the area directors coming meeting. So we have to put on our best finery and our nicest clothes and ensure that all the roads are filled and everything is done. But that's not usually what happens. Now, I found that you can't really help a club if they're dressed in their Sunday best. I mean, after all, you won't have a clue what they actually need in order to be better. An informal visit most of the time helps. And it did in this respect, because with the informal visits, I got to say to them, introduce yourself to the clubs, get to know everyone, and from there, try to build a connection. And it worked. Now, can I stand here and say, in my amazingness, all of my clubs had at least 4 members trained because I am also divine? Right. I wish I could, but that was not the case. There are actually clubs who only one dedicated member show up, and there are some that I can tell you we are just getting through to connect with. But what's important is we are getting through. And the number of clubs this time around that had that difficulty was way, did I say way, spectacularly, immensely less than I faced last year. Can I even say that there are clubs that only had 1 officer trained, but there are clubs right now that are already on 4 DCP points. That's the beauty of knowing your past, knowing your history, and looking into everything. Then you get to understand what the clubs genuinely need. Not, we got dressed up, we have our pins, everything is great, we don't need your help. Because that's not what we're there for as district leaders. We're there to make sure that we help the clubs to be the best version of the club they want to be. And that was why I tried to get everyone trained, to get them connected. I heard a phrase at a club officers training in District 81 from where I'm at, and I thought it so eloquently and beautifully summed up the health of a club. The trainer made the quote that said, "You know how well a club is going to do based on how many of the officers came out to club officers training." And I am happy to say that most of my clubs are great and healthy. And with my divinely dedicated team of area directors, I think it's going to be an awesome year. Back to you, our Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your wonderful speech. I just amazed. It's beyond my imagination that you are taking care of North Carolina's district from Jamaica. Oh, I wish you a good luck. Okay, thank you. Now I want timers report for both speakers. Both are qualified?
Both are qualified, Mr. Toastmaster. The times for the first speaker were 7:27, the second for 6:41. You may have noticed that my hand is raised. The reason for that is that keeps the timekeeper always in the top left-hand position in gallery, which makes it easy for everybody to see what the time is. I understand that may have confused Katika during her speech, and I do apologize for that. I should have let her know that was happening first. Anyway, that's the times for the first 2 speakers.
Thank you. So please vote for the best speaker to vote counter Carolina Ramirez. Next round is table topic session. Toastmaster Caroline Ramirez will act as the table topic master, and I will give my control to her. The screen is yours, Caroline.
Thank you, Toru. Remember that for the big section, you have between 1 and 2 minutes to answer the questions. And pay attention to the timer today, Graham. The process of harvest reminds us of the rewards of hard work. In the process of good harvesting, you need endurance and resilience more than you imagine. Today, in this table topic section, we'll talk about resilience and endurance. And the first question is, how do you turn your aspirations into reality? Have you ever turned a dream into a reality? And this question goes to our Toastmaster of the day, Toru.
What? Okay, thank you very much for your wonderful question. The only thing I do to make my purpose into reality is hard work. That's all. And people who did great things in the history and currently in the world is those people who work hard. And that is the most important element of the great accomplishment. You can't count for lucky. You can't for the help from others much. The matter is what you do and what is your determination and what your energy and consistency. So I don't expect anything other than my power, my to account for. So to your question, hard work is the answer, the only answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Toru. I will take your answer as an advice as well. The second question, can you give me an example of where resilience helped you overcome adversity? And this question goes to Jim.
Oh, thank you, Madam Topics Master. You want an example of some time when I overcame adversity? Wow. Got to think about which one of the different things am I going to choose? Because there's so many possibilities there. Now, keep in mind, my definition of adversity is not necessarily the same as other people's. I realize it's subjective, and I'm in no way comparing my adverse experiences to others. But for myself, one of the greatest adversarial events that I have had to overcome throughout my life, it keeps repeating, is commonly referred to as Monday. Even though I've been self-employed for quite a while now, and so Monday doesn't have the same significance that it did when I was an employee of a company, nevertheless, I hate Mondays. It's the end of the weekend. I adore weekends. Weekends are wonderful. That's why they're called weekends. They're wonderful. And Mondays just bring it all down to a crashing halt. And so I despise Mondays. Mondays are an incredible adversarial way to get to end the week, to end the weekend. And so, no, overcoming Monday is one of the greatest things that I can do. And I do that, well, I'm doing that now because we're 2 hours away from ending Monday. And Graham gives me hope that actually there will be a Tuesday to come. So I know it's going to be there. And I'm looking forward to that I'm overcoming one more Monday. Madam Topics Master.
Thank you, Jim. I used to hate Mondays as well until I discovered remote work, or I was led to work from home. Next question. Why is resilience important in leadership roles? Why is resilience important in leadership roles? And this question goes to Liron Yuan.
I think resilience is important in leadership roles because as a leader, you need to guide people to overcome challenges and difficulties. And without resilience, the leader would fail himself or herself. So he or she wouldn't be able to support others. And that can be problematic, especially for like project managers or like company owners, or like, yeah, or for like even self-employment. If you don't have resilience, then it's very hard to like face everyday difficulties and challenges. Yeah, I think I agree that resilience is important for leadership.
Thank you very much, Lurong. I agree with you. Next question. Can you explain what the concepts of stress and adaptation mean in context with resilience? Can you explain what the concepts of stress and adaptation mean in context with resilience? And this question goes to Andriy Smolenko.
Thank you very much, Carolina. For some reason, I just had the feeling that that easy question has got to go, especially for me. The adaptation in case of resilience and the other things on top. For example, in my work life, I'm self-employed and I do work from home most of the time. And I do become extremely resilient of getting myself out of my bedroom and saying, look, you need to go and talk to people, not online, but in life, in a working space, in a bar and a cafe. Then I just have a cup of coffee, put my pajamas on, make a few phone calls and think maybe tomorrow. And tomorrow becomes day after tomorrow. And you can guess, I can see many of you already nodding, you know that feeling when you become resilient to your own changes. So one side of me proposing that, Andrei, you can really do better. You have to adapt to the new environment you're living in. The other side of me saying, just chill, man. You still have all life ahead. Just enjoy another cup of tea. Just enjoy that peace and quiet. Just don't need to talk to live people if you don't want to. And you can't probably believe me if I would say most of the days, I do have those two little voices, one in one ear and another one. And to me, you can't really overcome anything if you don't want to do it. What you can do, dance with it. You can dance with all your fears. You can dance with things that can be unimaginable to put them together. And when you have that internal feeling of enjoying a dance, you can make many things happen. Even answer that very easy question, as Carolina Ramirez put it. Back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much, Andrei, for answering that easy question. Next question. Suren, would you like to participate?
Hello, Carolina. Yeah, for sure.
Great. Another easy question. Are people born resilient, or can they be taught to develop resilience? How would you teach a child to be resilient?
Thank you very much for the question, Madam Table Topics Master. And thank you all of you for the very warm welcome. I read a book called Growth Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck about 5 years ago, and that completely changed my perspective on how leaders are not born, but developed. And I think resilience, as we heard from Lirong earlier, resilience is a fundamental characteristic of any leader. And I think resilience too can be honed in someone. And we see that in babies. Babies don't run. They can't even walk. They crawl. They fall multiple times. They stand up. They do it multiple times over multiple months, and they eventually learn to walk. So I think using that example for adults, I think we fail as well. That happens every day. It still happens to me every day. And you just have to learn. And I think the important thing is learning from the mistakes you've made so that you don't repeat them way too often. And I think from that, you build resilience. So I usually look out for the green light and I see that, and that's my savior. So I'll end there. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Suren, for your answer. I think that problems are like waves. You have one and then the other one comes and you are having problems every time. One and another. Next question. That's why you need to be resilient. What is your understanding of self-care as it relates to resilience? What is your understanding of self-care as it relates to resilience? And this question about self-care goes to Marianne. Ready?
Self-care is critical to be resilient. And I am a person who learned that the hard way, I would say. Years ago, I would work till I couldn't stand up anymore. And one day, a boss of mine kind of made a demand at the end of a day when I was supposed to be going to see my children. And I stayed and I didn't go with my children, and it frustrated me so. And the stress I felt was just horrendous. Yet I hadn't ascended in the corporate ladder enough to feel confident in saying no to him. And so I said yes, and I missed this event with my children. And I said, I got to take care of me and what's important to me. And that experience became a really big tipping point for how I looked at management as I grew and got different positions. And I always felt that my positions were to take care of the people who worked for me, not to like drain them of every ounce of energy. So I did start taking care of myself, taking time when I needed it. But I also allowed my people to do that. And at my retirement dinner, one of the people who was like my right arm at work, she got up and said, Marianne, she goes, you taught me that I could be a great HR professional as well as a good mom. And I felt like letting people know that I cared about them and that I want them to do what's the most important thing made all the difference in the world to me. It was the most meaningful comment of the night to me. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Marianne. That was beautiful. A beautiful story. Last question. Do we have a volunteer? Okay. Tell me some. Graham?
Yep.
Okay. Talking about resilience, endurance, and things like that. Tell me qualities you like about yourself and things you're naturally good at.
Madam Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. The things I like about myself most are my modesty and my ability to just say how good I am. Seriously, though, resilience is an important issue. There's an old saying, which we've all heard, which goes, if at first you don't succeed, try again. And that's true. But after you've tried and tried again, sooner or later you reach a point where you recognize that you are just simply beating your head against a brick wall. And while it may feel good when you stop, that's not really good for your self-worth, for your head, or for that matter, for the wall. And so one of the things that I am good at, other than, of course, being as modest as I am, is recognizing my limitations. I, for example, know that I am, or at least was, a really, really good radio journalist. I was capable of distilling a story down into 20 or 30 seconds, getting the crux of the story, making it all make perfect sense. I was not a particularly good print journalist. I would write, and when I would write, I would overwrite, I would be too flowery, I would obfuscate rather than using simple words. I would just generally not be a good print journalist. My daughter, on the other hand, is a far better writer than I will ever be. I learned early in my career that broadcast journalism, distilling down, was what I was good at. Filling in and padding out was not something I was good at. And so I decided to limit my career to that which I was good at. Could I have tried again and become the greatest written word journalist ever? Perhaps, although Toru might have given me a run for my money there. But no, I decided there is no point in beating my head against a brick wall and recognizing my limitations. It made me a much happier person. Madam Topics Master.
Thank you very much, Graham. That's very wise. Mr. Timer, are everyone qualified? Is everyone qualified?
Yes, indeed. I've just put them in there. Toru 122, Jim 159, Lirong just made it. It was right on 1 minute. Andre 211, Siren 1 minute 30, Marianne 149, and I was 2 minutes and 18 seconds.
Awesome. Congrats. I will send you a link in the chat to vote for your favorite. In the meantime, back to you, Toru, our Toastmaster of the day. You are muted, Toru.
Thank you very much for your creative table topic session. All right. Third and the last round is the evaluation session, essential part of the meeting to evaluate the prepared speakers as well as the quality of the entire meeting. Toastmaster Jim Barber takes the role. Jim, you are in charge.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. That's I'm in charge. I don't hear that very often, but it's nice to hear. I'm not quite sure how true it is, but it's always nice to hear. It's time for the evaluation portion of our meeting, where we will evaluate our speakers and we will evaluate everybody and we will evaluate the meeting as a whole. Before we move to the evaluations, and we are lucky to have two experienced evaluators this evening evaluating our presentations, but I want to remind them that evaluations are timed at 2 to 3 minutes each, please, in case anyone has forgotten, and our timer will flag you appropriately. Our first evaluator is going to be doing double duty. He's going to be timing himself as he evaluates. Evaluating Kirthika's presentation, please help me welcome Graham Cairns.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, guests, particularly Kritika. Kritika's speech today was designed to achieve a specific function, and that is to learn to use visual support material. The exact topic was, and I'm just scrolling back up here, Kritika's speech was all about using presentation software. And it was my experience as a managerial persona. I'm going to talk about the speech in two parts. First, as a speech, did it work? And second, did the presentation software work? And I have to say, as a speech, yes, I believe this worked. I thought that the speech was well structured. It flowed well. It was perhaps a little shallow. I would have liked to learn a little more background, but I did learn about Kritika's management persona and what she saw as her skills and learnings in management. So that meant that the speech met its objective as far as that was concerned. In terms of the use of visual support material, in the use of presentation software, there was a really good choice of images, I felt. Most of the images actually reinforced the points that Kritika was saying. There used to be a rule that if you're going to have text on your screen, there should be no more than 7 lines, each of which comprised no more than 7 words, because that was all that the human mind could absorb in a single glance. 49 words, 7 lines, 7 words. Quite frankly, that's a grossly outdated experience. These days, most people who work with visual presentation software will tell you that a single word and an image is much more effective. We think in terms of pictures. We even convert language into stories and pictures in our head. And so the use of images was good, although I did feel that there were perhaps too many of them, and we didn't have time to absorb the message that each of the images had. For example, there was one there which was a light bulb plugging itself into a wall. Now, there are lots of things I could have taken from that light bulb plugging itself into a wall. I'm not entirely sure that resilience was what it was, or whatever it was that I was supposed to be observing. So the use of images is good, but perhaps a few less of them. The other thing is, in an online presentation like this, because Kritika had gone to the full, I'm almost out of time. She had gone to the full screen for the PowerPoint presentation, or whatever it was. It might well have been Canva, I don't know. But because of that, we could hardly see her. She was just a tiny little box off in the corner. I would suggest looking at a way to incorporate yourself into the slides. That way you remain the focus. There are ways of doing it, which we can talk about in a tip of the day at the next meeting, for example. That would keep you as the focus, and then the images just reinforcing what you had said. So I enjoyed the slideshow. I thought perhaps too many messages, but as a speech, I thought it went particularly well, and I'm no longer eligible for Best Evaluator because I'm currently at 3 minutes and 38 seconds. All yours, Jim.
Sorry, I was off on another world. Anyway, I don't think you should be disqualified because the timer neglected to put the red light on. So you wouldn't know that you were over time. So I think you should be eligible due to a timing technicality. It's an interesting thing that both of our evaluators this evening or morning or whatever are evaluating us from the future. However, they're evaluating us from opposite sides of the planet. How often does that occur? Well, here at Online Presenters, it probably occurs every month or so. But anyway, we have another experienced evaluator evaluating Joni Laidlaw's presentation. Please help me welcome our second evaluator, Andrei Smolenko. Take it away, Andrei.
Thank you very much, Jim, my fellow live presenters, guests, and most importantly, Johnny. What's a motivational, inspiring speech in which, with all your bubbly personality, your Jamaican sense of humor, and very, very carefully structured speech, you encaptivated us, you encaptivated me into your journey, where you, from a small island in Jamaica, became a leader of a number of clubs, probably hundreds and maybe thousands of Toastmasters under your guidance and supervision. I could see throughout your motivational speech that you are a leader who leading by example. You set up those things and are quite clear from the outset. You explain what you did, what care you took, and importantly, what challenges you had and how you overcame them. I really like the words that you use, for example, preaching to the choir, and you don't know until you know. Those words are really powerful and internationally recognized So your speech was really appropriate for our diverse audience, where we could follow your guidance and your leadership as well. I really like the way you explain the really, really strong message that as a leader, if you want your people, your clubs to succeed, you need to make sure they train. So, and the leadership can be measured by the training, the quality of the training of people you lead. Overall, really incredibly powerful message, well-structured speech, and of course, motivational quotes. However, a few recommendations I would like to make that perhaps you would like to take into account. For some of us, areas and districts can have a huge number of people involved. For some of us, it can be just a few people. Perhaps if you could give us some numbers, numbers would make your speech more credible. A district of 20 clubs, so area of 5 people, a few hundred, just some numbers I would like to see. The second recommendation is the minor one. I would like to hear the story of a small club that became a huge success. Very detailed, based on one little thing, slowly. It's a journey of a hero from someone little, ugly duckling into a beautiful swan. And if you could show us that, again, your leadership and motivational skills would be shining even brighter than your sense of humor. Overall, great to hear a story. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Andre. Great evaluation by both of our evaluators this evening. And Mr. Timer, allowing for the technicalities of the timing problem, how did our two evaluators do this evening?
Moving that out of the way so that I can actually reach down to the microphone. Mr. General Evaluator, I spoke for, as I say, 3 minutes and 38 seconds. Andre, on the other hand, managed to do it in 3 minutes and 23 seconds. So he had 7 seconds left before his time expired.
I think he should give his 7 seconds to spare to you, which averages out both speakers, both evaluators qualify. Please cast your votes when it's up there now. Vote for your preferred evaluator of the two evaluators. Both of them qualify. And while you are doing that, I am going to call on our various people doing specialized evaluations this evening. Normally, we limit the specialized evaluation reports to 1 minute. We are running plenty of time, so I'm not going to be a little strict on the timing, but please, again, keep it somewhat brief. Shoot for 1 minute. If you go a little bit more than that, it's not a problem. I neglected to jot down who is the grammarian this evening. Who is the grammarian? Joni, outstanding. Joni, how did we do grammar-wise? Did we talk good?
We spoke very well. And actually, that's one of the only corrections I have to grammar today. But I did get some wonderful gems. And for Kartika, I do have to ask, based on your accent, you did ask some rhetorical questions, and I wasn't sure because you didn't pause if they were rhetorical or if I had to correct the grammar. I went on the side of you just forgot to count to 3 in your head and wait for us to answer. But you did give us some great phrases. A great leader is one who surrounds himself with great people who collectively innovate and implement with success. If he tries to do it by himself, he's egotistical and likely to fail. And I also like conquering yourself is the first step to conquering the world. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Very good advice. I loved when Jim said Monday is the adversarial way to start the week. I think Friday is the adversarial way to end the week. Combine me and Jim, we'll end up with just a really short week, and that will make me happy because I really like short weeks. Now for Andre, I like dance with it. And for Seren, my apologies if I'm working on being better with names. I usually look out for the green light. I love how you do that in there. And for Carolina, problems are like waves. For Graham, learning my limitations made me a much happier person. Now, I found it quite spectacular how spectacularly online presenters decided to change the word of the day today to resilience, because resilience was used approximately 15 times. But it's spectacular that the word of the day was not demonstrated somewhere so we could all see it to imply that we should spectacularly use it. But fortunately, Toru did utilize it. I did, as well as the conjugation, and I was hoping more of us would use it. But I guess we took a vote and did not inform the grammarian that we were changing the word to resilience. So if it was resilience, we did it about 15 times. Back to you, our general evaluator.
Thank you, Joni Laidlaw, Madam Grammarian, and I'm going to demonstrate my resilience despite the criticisms that have been hurled my way by using both words of the day. What was the other? Oh, spectacular, absolutely. I've got a spectacular use of the word spectacular. However, resilient is the word, so I'm not going to bother doing that. Let me move on to Marianne Grady, who is doing double duty this evening as both our watcher and our chat monitor. If you want to combine both reports into one, that would be great. Take it away, Marianne.
Absolutely, happy to do it. As an advanced club, we do presentation right. Everyone is centered right. We did have a couple of people who decided to participate, myself included, when they were talking about the harvest. I put my background up. Jim was talking about fall, and he's got his big palm leaf down there. So, that's terrific. One thing I did note that there are a couple of us who are not well lit. And, we do want to make sure that you have some type of lighting in front of you, not glaring in your face, but maybe off to the sides a little bit so that your faces are bright enough for everybody to see. Now, as the chat monitor, what I did see was I saw some warm welcomes to Lirong and Surin, and that was really nice. They both came back to us and told us a little bit about why they wanted to attend our meeting tonight. And let's see. And we learned what allergy is. So that was, good things. And that's all I got for today. It was pretty mild chat today. So back to you, Mr. Jim Barber, General Evaluator.
That's a great report. Thank you. Both reports. Thank you, Marianne Grady. And finally, we have one more report coming from the Wizard of Oz this evening. Andrei Smolenko, how did we do wise?
Mr. General Evaluator, as I said before, we're advanced club, and we were shining today without using most of the crutch words. However, as an advanced club member, I have advanced ears, and this way I still managed to find a number of crutch words that perhaps you would like to take into account. Our Toastmaster of the day, Mr. Toru Mariyama, using the word "r." At the same time, the use of pause, I think, is almost overwhelmed the use of "r." That was something to probably look into it. Then speaker number one, Kritika. I think one of your favorite crutch words is so. So perhaps you would like just to take into account that word "so" as well. Johnny Laidlaw, speaker two, the word "but." It was used wonderfully with a style. However, maybe a little bit less "buts" would be slightly better. Then Toastmaster, Table Topics Master Carolina, no crutch words. And our guests, Lirong and Suren. Look, guys, you are amazing. I didn't find any crutch words in your Table Topics participation. So you are made for online presenters. At least you better come next time so we can look for them for you. And then Timer and Mary and Graham. I would like to praise Graham for using one interesting technique. As the radio journalist, and amazing as he is, he probably hates using silent bombs. Silent bomb is when it's silent, when you're supposed to talk. So using just to get that silent bomb was an amazing and masterful way of using a crutch word. So well done, Graham. The rest of the club did really well. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Wizard of Oz, Andrei Smolenko. And now it is my opportunity to evaluate our evaluators and evaluate the meeting as a whole. As for our evaluators, what can I say? They are two of the most experienced evaluators that we have, and they demonstrated it this evening. Their evaluations were supportive and encouraging. They also offered suggestions for improvement. But what I really liked in both cases is that their supportive comments and their suggestions weren't general in nature, but were rather specific. They didn't say, in general, you did this, or in general, you should try that, but they gave specific things of when you said this, and when you said that, or when you did this, you might want to try that. And giving specific examples shows, number one, that they were listening to the presentations and paying a lot of attention, but also it's especially helpful to the people that they're evaluating, because it gives them something specific that they can rely on. So great job on both of you on doing that. And finally, the meeting as a whole. I'm tempted to comment on the lack of participation from our members this evening, but that would be inappropriate given that the people that showed up this evening are the ones that saved everything and brought it together. So rather than talking about the people who didn't show, and in many cases, they were traveling. I know David is in an airplane right now and that sort of thing. So they all have good reasons, but nevertheless, the turnout is disappointing. But I want to go on the other side and commend the people that not only showed up tonight, but took on double roles. Graham evaluated and was timer. Marianne was a chat monitor and a watcher. Oh, Carolina not only counted votes, but was the table topics master. Andre evaluated and was an counter. And if I missed somebody, I apologize. But basically everybody stepping up like that and taking on double roles, that was just really great. Kudos to all of you. That was fabulous. And basically that's my evaluation of the meeting. We pulled it off again. And not only that, but we are actually finishing up a few moments early, which is very, very nice. So I will, with that, return control. No, before I do that though, I have to find out who were our winners this evening. So for that, I go to Carolina Ramirez, who is our vote counter. Carolina, who won?
Best evaluator, Andriy Smolenko. Best table topics speaker, Marianne Grady. And the best speaker, prepared speaker, is Johnny Laidlaw. Congratulations to the winners today. Back to you, Mr. GE.
Thank you, Carolina. And as she said, congratulations to all three of our winners this evening. And as I said earlier, kudos to everybody for being here and for participating and for making this a great meeting. And with that, I happily return control to our president of online presenters, speaking to us from the future, Graham Cairns.
Thank you, Jim. Yes, no matter how bad your Monday is, it becomes Tuesday. I know, Toro knows, Andre knows. We're all in tomorrow from the perspective for the rest of you. Now, just before I go to our next meeting, I would like to get comments from our guest today. I'll start with Lirong. Lirong, how did you find the meeting? And don't say you clicked on the button and there it was. No, what did you like about the meeting, and are there suggestions you can make?
Oh, I think I really liked the meeting. Especially, I think the survey is very well organized, like in my previous club, we do not have such well organized surveys about who did the best. I think the table topics are also a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the meeting. Yeah.
Thank you. I thought the topics were awesome as well. So thank you for your contributions, Lirong, and a great topic from you. And Seren.
Thank you. Very, it's definitely an advanced club. I saw a lot of, I think if I would be in a position to improve myself if I were here. So definitely a challenging environment where I see a lot of growth and resilience to grow.
Fabulous. Spectacular resilience and spectacular growth is what we all get from this club. Thank you for coming along. As president, I would sincerely like to thank you for coming along and invite you along again. We meet every week at the same time. Well, although it will change by an hour in November when the US goes into or out of daylight saving, whichever it is. And look, I'm an intelligent man and I still can't figure out daylight saving. So anyway, we change by an hour in November, but until then, we are the same time, no matter where you are. Thank you for coming along. As president, I'll step into the VPE's role since she is not well today. Just looking at our next meeting, I know I'm down to speak. Do we have, let me check what we've got set up for our next meeting. That's that one over there. Too many windows open. We at this stage don't have a Toastmaster. Anyone here wish to volunteer to be Toastmaster at the next meeting? He
I
says,
can be the Toastmaster. Andre,
Carolina.
okay, Andre.
No, Carolina, you got your hand up first. Andre instead can be the general evaluator. I suspect he can be the other end of the meeting. Do we have a general evaluator? No, we don't. So Andre, can you take on that role instead? Goodo. Marianne, you're putting a hand up for something. Whatever you'd like to do. Well, look, the Toastmaster and the General Evaluator are the two key roles. Oh, anyone want to volunteer for table topics? I see a wave coming there from Marianne. Marianne, table topics is yours. Thank you for that. I'll fill these in a minute. Those are the three key roles. The other ones we can fill. Katika, I notice, Katika, you're down for a speech again next week. Was that your intent?
Oh, yes, Graham.
Good. Okay, good. Because you're down for a speaker, I'm down for a speaker, and I noticed that somebody else said that they could speak today but didn't get here. So we'll work on the rest of the agenda later.
Graham, do you need a tip of the day?
A tip of the day would be good, yes.
I can do that. It's been a while.
Excellent, excellent. Something on leadership or on presentation, whatever works for you.
You got it.
For Lirong and Seren, by the way, just letting you know,